Imagine this. You are the king of Spain, and it's your fourth course after a long and delicious meal of stuffed pigeons, hearty mutton cakes, and other undeniably delicious dishes. But now it's your dessert course, and you're feeling something sweet, something that shows your versatility, the wealth of your nation, and the abundance of the resources you now have available to you in the modern day of late 17th century Spain. You would have, of course, a hot chocolate.
Medieval meals, especially for high court officials and the king himself, were a lavish affair. Even on regular meals, the family was presented with almost 30 dishes that included some trout pie, tongue, cooked sausages, and dried meats, pastries, pork,
and sweet desserts.
Another among these popular staple dishes was chocolate. Brought over in the late 1500s by Spanish conquistadors, it first was introduced as a bitter drink to the Spanish court, but after the addition of sugar and honey by friars, the dish became a luxury, enjoyed by the wealthy and a staple of Spanish culture.
The recipe we are using today is a spicier, darker version of the well-known treat we all love, featuring many spices acquired by Spain and reflects the growing trade in the New World.
The recipe I will be using today comes from Antonio Colmenero de Ledesma, who was a physician and surgeon from Andalusia in Spain. He published this recipe in 1631 on the benefits of chocolate and included a variety of recipes using cacao beans and spices for optimal flavors in medicine. The modernized version of this recipe, and the one we will be using today, was created by Joyce White in her series A Taste of History.
Starting this recipe is a variety of spices and peppers grown around the world that are featured in Spanish cuisine as a display of their newfound wealth in the New World. Begin with a full teaspoon of cinnamon.
Cinnamon is harvested from dried bark from evergreen trees native to Sri Lanka, southern India, and Myanmar. The next ingredient is nutmeg, half a teaspoon. Nutmeg is native to the Spice Islands of Indonesia and is the seed kernel of the fruit. Similarly to nutmeg, a quarter teaspoon of cloves, which are the dried flower buds of the Syzygium aromaticum tree, native to Indonesia, are added to the mixture. Coming from Central and South America is annatto, a quarter teaspoon, which comes from the achiote tree. Before its use in culinary practices, it was often used as body paint and textile dye by indigenous populations. A quarter teaspoon of cayenne pepper is added to the mixture. Cayenne pepper also comes from Central and South America, typically grown around the French Guiana region. It is a staple in many culinary dishes and adds an almost intense spiciness to the drink.
Finishing off our spice mixture is a quarter teaspoon of aniseed or anise, which is a licorice tasting herb found in essential oils, perfumes, and liqueurs. It is originally native to the Mediterranean region, but is grown worldwide. This worldwide batch of spices is now combined together to form a homogeneous spice mixture, cinnamony, spicy, and sweet. Colmenero insists in his original recipe that water or milk can be used. I prefer a thicker hot chocolate, so I chose 4 cups of milk. The recipe next calls for 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, which is vanilla bean pods soaked in alcohol. The vanilla bean pods themselves are originally grown in Mesoamerica, where they undergo a sweating and drying process before being sent to Spain to be soaked with alcohol to create the baking staple. The recipe next calls for a quarter to a half cup of sugar, depending on the desired sweetness. Sugarcane is grown in Brazil and the Caribbean islands, typically on French, Dutch, Portuguese, and English plantations. The acquisition of these varieties of spices, peppers, and sugars set Spain as a player in the recent development of the New World trade, with most of their acquisitions coming from Central America. Next comes the most important ingredient, 4 ounces of dark chocolate. The bar I'm using is about 90% cocoa. Spain has quite the foothold in the history of chocolate in Europe, originally bringing it to court for bitter and spicy drinks, before honey, sugar, and other sweeteners were added over time. Cacao is harvested mostly in Mesoamerica, where Spain held a monopoly. Chocolate was initially very expensive and considered a status drink for nobles and nouveau riche. Chocolate became much more popular in European countries in the coming years with the additional sweeteners added, especially in London, where dedicated chocolate houses were opened for aristocratic and wealthy noblemen to enjoy a variety of chocolate dishes and hot chocolate. In a kitchen as vast and lavish as ones enjoyed by the Spanish royalty, there were certain stations set up for every department of meats, wines, and other culinary expertise. It was likely this dish would have been assembled over a live fire, with the ingredients being combined slowly and cooking for many minutes on end. After the milk or water was added, the temperature would have been kept at a steady and consistent heat to avoid boil over, as the sugar, the chocolate, and the spice mixture were all added in rapid succession. After the ingredients were added, the mixture would have been stirred slowly at first to allow for a cohesive melting, then rapidly whisked, or finally adding the vanilla. After the mixture had been thoroughly melted, it was set to cool and thicken for a few minutes before being served in a goblet and presented first to the poison taster and then to the king to be enjoyed. As we can see, the seemingly simplistic drink boasts a unique blend of spices, sugars, chocolates, and peppers from places far outside of Spain where this recipe was enjoyed. The use of all these ingredients in a simplistic dessert shows Spain's foothold in the world of trade and the beginning rise of imperialism for goods outside of Europe. It is spicy, sweet, chocolatey, delicious. Oh my god, that's really spicy. I think I put too much pepper.